Hello, everybody, and welcome to Project Peacock. I am so happy that you have all chosen to spend some time with us this evening. Our Project Peacock Platform community is growing. We have almost 900 print and marketing professionals who have joined us for ongoing printspiration, education, and access to all the resources on the platform. We also have a plethora of Peacock partners here who have the tools and the technology you need to level up your communication game. So pop over to the partner area after the presentation and see what they have to share because it's some cool stuff. I also want to give a shout out to the industry organizations and consultants who have joined us, stop by their booths as well, and they can may be able to help your business grow. The Project Peacock platform is open 24/7. Bookmark the login page and visit as often as you'd like. There is plenty of content in the on-demand library, and I will be adding more, and always, as I said, plenty of Peacock partner booths to explore. In case you didn't know, we have a Project Peacock podcast, and I'm going to start releasing the episodes this week or next week. And you can find it by searching for podcasts from the Printerverse on your preferred podcast player. I'm also looking for Peacock attendees to record with, so reach out to me if you are interested. Our upcoming events, Project Peacock Publishing on September 9th, with special guest Dr. Samir Husni, aka Mr. Magazine from the Magazine Innovation Center at the University of Mississippi. He is the world's foremost experts on all things magazines and truly a fascinating speaker. On October 19th, Project Peacock is going to be celebrating International Print Day, yay, with special guests and lots of fun. Project Peacock Point of Purchase is November 11th. This event is all about displays, in-store materials, and all the print and marketing that surrounds retail environments, including printed decor. So before you leave the platform, please click please click into the events on the left side of the screen and add them to your calendar. And thank you so much for your attention. Now on to tonight's event. For more than 4 decades, Landa has been the most recognized name associated with the digital printing revolution. The company Mr. Benny Landa started in 1977, invented and launched the first digital printing press in 1993, and in 2002, the technology was purchased by a little company named HP, and you might know it by its brand name, Indigo. After that acquisition, Mr. Landa turned his focus to nanotechnology for the purpose of creating energy from air, and in that process discovered that nanopigments could revolutionize the printing industry for a second time. So tonight, the mission of Project Peacock to share new print possibilities is truly being realized. Nanography is cutting-edge printing technology that has only recently been introduced into the industry, and there is so much more coming. This may be the first time you have heard of Landa and Nanography, but I promise you it will not be the last. The future of print has really arrived. I want to sincerely thank Team Landa for their Project Peacock partnership, especially Ophir and Christine, Kevin, and Daniela, and also Helene Smith from HSPR, who is also a Peacock partner. You can visit her booth. You guys all rock. I hope everyone is ready for a lot of printspiration and a little science. Kevin and Jordan, if you could turn on your cameras. Tonight, we have 2 special guests. Kevin Rice is the National and Strategic Accounts Manager at Landa Digital Printing, and Jordan Patterson is the Vice President at Virtual Packaging. And P.S., they have a nanographic press. I'm going to turn it over to the gentleman. I'll be back in a bit. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending.
Deborah, thank you so much for the introduction. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to be here in this platform, and we certainly hope that your viewers here will find what we have to say very interesting and inspiring, and maybe provide a little bit of printspiration for them as well. I'd also like to introduce Jordan Patterson, excuse me, from Virtual Packaging in Dallas, Texas. They're a very good customer of Landa's and a very good partner. Jordan, would you mind telling me a little bit about Virtual Packaging?
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, Virtual Packaging, we pride ourselves on customer service and our ability to make prototype packaging for the last 20 years. We're one of the largest prototype packaging firms in the United States. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago that we made an investment in Landa and the S10 printing press to allow us to do longer run packaging as well as other marketing materials for commercial grade print. We thoroughly enjoy our Landa S10. We like to see how far we can push it. And we've been able to do just about anything we wanted. So we're very excited to come on here and help explain some of these capabilities you guys have.
Well, Jordan, we're glad to have you. And I do hope that during the presentation, you'll be able to come in and interject some points that you noticed as well from what we're explaining to the viewers. So let me share my screen and we'll start this. So basically, we're here to talk about a new world of new print possibilities with Landa and with Jordan Patterson, Virtual Packaging. But before I get into the presentation, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Benny Landa. He's the founder of our company. His name is on the company, obviously. What a lot of people don't realize, although Deborah did go into it a little bit at the beginning, is that he's the inventor of digital printing. He's the one that everything we kind of take for granted in today's marketplace, from the copy of one to customization of individual mail pieces to personalization. It's all because of the technologies that Benny invented back in the 70s and then brought to life in 1993 at IPEX with the e-print machines. Some of you may not know, but he's a holder of over 800 patents. And like Deborah said, the nanoparticle side, he did start developing, trying to find a way to make energy out of air so that you could walk with your cell phone and just the heat from your body would generate the amount of energy to recharge your cell phone, things like that. A little bit more about Benny and the Landa Group. The Landa Group is made up of an area called Landa Ventures, which is companies that Benny personally has invested in. These include companies like Gencell or Hycon. Some of you may have known them. They also involved a group called from Landa Labs. Now, Landa Labs is a group of a number of scientists that develop new and emerging technologies. And out of those technologies, Benny has developed additional companies that he's growing personally, and some that he's actually sold off to third parties. So the companies that he's developed individually, of course, Landa Digital Printing is one of them. And that came from his experiment with nanoparticles. He found that if you break the pigments of ink into smaller particles, they come up with some pretty amazing characteristics. Colors become brighter, more vibrant. He's got a company called Lucix, in which he lab grows diamonds. So I have not got a chance to personally see that yet, but it's an amazing company. Lumit is a solar energy company that's getting more and more energy out of the same square footage of solar panel cell. And then Landa Nanopigments or auto pigments, using the nanotechnology to bring some pretty unique colors to cars. You'll see those in the near future. A couple of the companies that he sold off are Colorite. He sold that to L'Oreal for hair dye and coloring using nanoparticles, and also nanometallography to Octega back in 2017. So who is Landa Digital Printing? Well, we produce the next generation digital printing presses that employ the nanographic printing process. It's targeted for mainstream commercial printing, packaging, publishing markets. We offer the industry's highest quality, highest speed, and most vivid colors. And currently we have over 500 employees with offices in Europe, the US, Asia, and of course, Israel, where our headquarters are. So before I get into nanography, I kind of wanted to go over the market need. And Jordan, when I get into this, I hope you'll be able to come in and kind of see what you're seeing from your standpoint as well, if you don't mind.
Definitely.
So what we've seen in longer term trends is that their lead times are becoming shorter, runs are becoming shorter. People are wanting new capabilities to be done. Uniform multi-site output. What that means is the ability to produce 500 copies at site A in Florida and 500 copies in California and 500 copies in England, and all those look identical when they all are brought together. Looking for cost reduction. And what's driving these things are variations in product, the number of product variations that are on the marketplace. What we see today, when you go to a grocery store, for example, look at the toothpaste aisle. There's 15 different versions of Crest to choose from. You've got rapid prototyping that is becoming available. And Jordan, I think you deal mainly in that side of it, don't you?
Yeah, we do. So I don't want to touch on all the points, but I'll definitely hit some of them. When it comes to short runs, I mean, people aren't wanting to spend the money nowadays to house inventory. They're wanting enough packages to fill their shelves today or this month, and then have reoccurring orders coming every month to fill their product needs. These shorter runs are allowing customers to change designs, change products, change or promote new products by adding coupon codes, for instance, inside of their packaging on a product that's on its way out or just got launched. With short lead times, our first ever job on the Landa S10 was a job we received at 2 p.m, and it was a customer who was shorted from China on 4,000 packages. They had to be at Walmart the next day. And they called us because we do their prototypes and we do same-day turnaround on prototypes. They begged us, what can you do? What can you do? Is there anything you can do? They got us the files at 2:30. We had them all printed on the Landa. We die cut them on the Hicon, and then we folded and glued them and got 4,000 boxes out by 8 o'clock that night. Our customer was very gracious, and it's where we learned that our capabilities have increased drastically.
That's amazing. Great story. Where we're seeing these changes being driven from is online retail. We all know, we all buy from Amazon, we all buy things online, and we're probably buying more and more online as time goes on. I think COVID kind of accelerated that part of the trend. Media proliferation. Everybody has access to information today. You can Google whatever topic you need to, how to fix your sink, how to fix a refrigerator, whatever you need is driving all that away from having to have runs of hundreds of thousands at a time. Lifestyle buying. You used to just have one tube of toothpaste. Now you've got 15 because people are wanting to do what the next person's doing. And then of course, globalization. Have you seen anything in regards to the globalization side, Jordan?
Yeah, we have a few companies here in the US that obviously through COVID have started reducing cost. You were able to get some, not only were you able to buy packaging and print overseas for a cheaper price, now it's a little more difficult with some of the shipping constraints we have. But we have companies actually hiring design firms and R&D groups over in Asia. And then we're actually dealing with them in terms of making the prototype, making the first short run, making those 50 boxes for our focus group. It's gotten to the point where we almost act as one large community, and you're going to different areas to get whatever you may need at a specific time.
Excellent point. What we're seeing basically in the retail environment is we're going from brick and mortar to much more online in everything that we do. We're seeing the audience become fragmented. In other words, back 70s, even 80s, you had entire families around a TV watching advertising from that standpoint. Now everybody is on their own device. So the marketing and advertising has gone from mass marketing to micro targeting, which means shorter and smaller runs and more personalized products. Purchasing behavior that I talked about before. Instead of just buying a functional purchase, we're buying a lifestyle purchase. anybody could just buy Nescafe, but you could buy now Nescafe Gold or Silver or Bronze, any type that you would want from that standpoint to differentiate yourself from somebody else. Next, that kind of gives you a little bit about the market view. And before I get into nanography, I'm going to play a quick video that is narrated by Benny Landa to kind of give you a visual viewpoint of how nanography works. And I hope you'll enjoy it.
The nanographic printing process begins with the ejection of billions of microscopic droplets of water-based nano ink onto the heated image conveyor blanket. Each droplet of nano ink blends with other droplets to create the final color image. When all of the water has been evaporated, the ink image becomes an ultra-thin, dry polymeric film, only 500 nanometers thick, the thinnest ink image of any printing process. Upon transfer to the substrate, the nano ink film instantaneously bonds, forming a tough, abrasion-resistant layer, leaving no residual ink on the blanket. Nano ink images can be transferred to any ordinary coated or uncoated paper without any kind of pretreatment, and can also be transferred to plastic films. Since nano ink images are already dry, printed sheets can be coated in line with conventional UV or water-based coatings and then processed in finishing equipment right out of the press. And all of this with breathtaking print quality at offset press speeds. Landa offers 3 types of nanographic printing presses. The Landa S10 nanographic printing press is the industry's highest performance sheet-fed digital press. It is designed for folding carton, displays, signage, and other single-sided applications. The Landa S10 prints on any paper or carton board and produces the industry's widest color gamut in 4 or 7 colors. The Landa S10P nanographic printing press is a 2-sided press for commercial printing applications. The S10P, as well as the S10, both employ time-tested, robust sheet feeding systems, ensuring precise, reliable operation 24/7. Both the S10 and the S10P can print 6,500 B1 sheets per hour, and both will be upgradable to 10,000 sheets per hour. The Landa Operator Cockpit is a 21st century command and control center that is a press operator's dream come true, providing fingertip access to all press controls and intuitive job management. The Landa W10 nanographic printing press is a 1 meter wide web press designed for flexible packaging. Printing at 100 meters per minute on a broad range of plastic packaging films, metal foils, paper and board, the W10 is ideal for producing a broad range of packaging and industrial products. The W10 will be launched in 2022 and will be upgradable to print at 150 meters per minute in 2023. Landa nanographic printing presses bring the industry's most powerful digital printing technology to the commercial printing and packaging markets.
I hope you enjoyed that video. Every time I watch it, it just brings a smile to my face, and it's to me, it's still interesting to see that kind of a process work. Many of you don't know, but my background is mainly from the offset side. I worked for Heidelberg for many years, and just seeing this technology just brings a smile to my face. Earlier, we talked about how Benny had worked with nanoparticles, And he decided that he was going to see how that would affect things like pigments. And if you took an ink pigment and changed it and cut it into nano-sized particles, how that could change. And I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of an example here. And this is kind of rudimentary. It's a toy block. But if we imagine that this is one pigment of ink, it's all got the exact same volume, and you've got 6 sides of surface area. But if we're able to take this block and break it apart into many pieces, into many pieces, you'll see that the volume hasn't changed, but the surface area has dramatically changed. And why is that important? It allows us to use much less ink to create the same image. It allows us to use a very thin layer of ink to create the same image that you see in other processes. So what we do is we take those nanoparticles and we suspend them into water. And what that does is it gives us some different optical characteristics. And what'll happen is with the larger the pigment size, the more light scatter you get. Now you wonder, well, what do you mean by light scatter? And the easiest way for me to tell you is you're in a movie theater and you're watching a movie on the big screen, and all of a sudden the lights come on in the theater. All the images that are on the screen become more washed out. Well, what we're trying to do with these nanopigments is have the light pass through the pigment into the substrate instead of reflect off the pigment back. And because of those nano-sized particles, you're able to get much, much more vibrant colors than you would from a normal process. The process that Beanie had talked about was we're rejecting billions of droplets of ink onto the blanket. And just to give you an idea, we're dropping 24 billion droplets of ink every single second. That's what we're controlling precisely onto the Landa blanket. Once those images are down, we dry the ink to form an image on the blanket. So yes, that image is dried on the blanket before it's anything else. All we have to do is learn how to print on wood substrate, which is the blanket. So once that image is dried, we transfer that dried image to the substrate. And it's a transfer process. It's not lamination, but it's almost like lamination. The image gets laid across the top of the sheet, so you have no absorption into the product. Now you may be asking, well, okay, so why is that important? Well, I'll kind of show you what we're looking at as far as dot sharpness and uniformity. If you're looking at coated paper and uncoated paper on offset, you can kind of see your dot structure there. You can see the dot structure with an HP indigo and dot structure with the inkjet. When you look at the Landa dot structure, because of the technology and the way we apply the ink to the blanket and dry it, we end up with a much more precise dot. And what does that dot do? It transfers into sharper images. Here I'll show you, this is an example of inkjet versus nanography. And granted, it's hard to see on a computer screen, so I hope you're able to see it clearly. But basically on uncoated stock, you can see our image on the nanography side is much brighter than it would be from the inkjet side. Same thing with newsprint. You don't see as big of a difference, but you can in the reds on the high gloss chrome coated, on textured paper, on paper towels. And if you're looking at offset, this is an example of offset versus nanography on uncoated paper. Because the offset inks absorb into that uncoated paper, they're not as bright as you see. And because the Landa inks sit on top of the paper, you get a much more bright and vibrant, look to it. Here it is again, showing it side by side from that standpoint. So why is nanography important? What makes it the difference? What kind of value does this bring to the marketplace? This is where I'd like Jordan to actually come in and help me talk about these different areas, because what Landa sees is that in order to replace the conventional print technologies that are in the market, digital printing needs to at least match the print capabilities of offset. And that comes from color matching to the medias that they run, to the productivity of the press, to the cost to produce, to the format size, to the image quality. And we need to do all of that in a sustainable process. So we'll kind of explain a little bit about that. And I'm going to ask Jordan as we hit each of these circles to kind of comment on what he sees in real life from his experiences. So first, I'll start with color. And CMYK from an offset standpoint covers about 64%, 65% of Pantone colors. CMYK from Landa covers 85%. And when we add the OGB, or the 7-color process, we cover 96% of Pantone colors. Widest color gamut in the marketplace. Jordan, have you seen, had to do many, I guess, spot colors or brand colors? And what has been your experience in trying to hit them?
Yeah, we do a ton of brand colors. I mean, everybody knows them. I mean, Coca-Cola red, it's iconic. FedEx orange and purple. I mean, these companies have developed their name around their logo, around their colors. And when it comes to their products, they want to see an accurate color. And something that we've struggled with in the past was hitting some of these colors. And now we're able to hit these colors very easily. We are actually even doing small runs for other trade printers who are using offset, and they might be wanting to offload a smaller job that might cost them a lot of money or take up a lot of time on a printing press that could be printing a more valuable job. And they do trust us. They trust us to go ahead and print their product. We'll even ship them a proof to make sure it's of, you know, their brand's quality standard, and then we'll ship it to the customer. So not only are we hitting these colors, we actually have traditional offset customers trusting us to print their jobs for them, for their end customer.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it. This is just an example here of some of the bright colors that we're able to hit using our 7-color process. Again, the screen doesn't do it justice. If you could see it in person, these images really pop off the sheet. Skin tones are absolutely amazing from this press. The second point in the wheel of needs in order to replace offset are image quality. And as we showed earlier, the nanographic process produces the sharpest images in the most uniform dot structure of anything out there. Now, why is that important? Well, it allows us to do extremely fine lines and clear text down to microtext of 1 point for security, track and trace applications, those types of things. Jordan, have you utilized this side of the nanographic of your Landa? Have your customers noticed a difference?
They have actually. For instance, we have a customer who prints movie posters or sells movie posters, excuse me. And, you know, they don't want to keep a ton on stock, but they want to keep high quality images. I mean, you go to a movie, you see a poster, it's supposed to be eye-catching. It's supposed to make you want to see that movie. How cool is it going to be? It gets kids excited, it gets families excited. And even after you see a great one, you want a poster in your room. Well, we actually do, it's 12,780 posters. It's actually 142 different posters, 90 each. And we can print the first 90, followed by the second 90, followed by the third 90, SKU after SKU, and it takes about a little over 2.5 hours. So the image quality, the image quality is great, and our customer keeps coming back for more.
Well, thank you for sharing that. The next part has to do with the media. One of the amazing things on the Landa over other digital presses out there is that we can print on any paper or carton board without having to prime the sheet or having to have that sheet be pre-treated. Doesn't matter if it's recycled or virgin stock, coated or uncoated, liner paper, craft paper. It can print on anything. In fact, we've actually seen at Virtual Packaging running we had a customer in there running a job on recycled board, and he asked us to flip the sheet over to the brown side that's kind of brown and fuzzy and run it on that side. And we did, and it printed fine and it looked beautiful. And I think you're actually doing some barbecue trays for a customer that are printed on the backside of recycled board because it has a more organic look. Is that correct?
Yeah, customers have crazy ideas, but they end up working. And, from SPS to your recycled board, your natural craft, and even your paper stocks. I mean, we'll print 50-pound text up to 28 point is as high as we've gone, and we haven't had any issues.
Well, the next side has to do with the format size. So Landa's press runs in a B1 format, which is 29 by 41 inches, roughly. It's the largest size of a digital press in the marketplace currently. We run at speeds of 6,500 sheets per hour. The main reason for the B1 format size is compatibility downstream. So you can take the B1 size sheet, which is the most popular size in the world, run it through your current folders, your current cutting systems, your perfect binders, your saddle stitchers, die cutters, all without having to re-die. And Jordan, have you found that the format size helps you over the smaller format sizes?
Oh, it's 100%. I mean, we've been looking for a B1 format digital press since 2012. It's something that we've dreamt about. And, when we saw you guys at Drupa, and we got our first taste of the Landa company, we were extremely excited. It allows us to gang up many jobs, make one die for 15 different jobs. It's not something that was able to be made digitally ever. And especially in the speed that you guys produce it in, it was game changing for us.
That's great to know. Speaking of speeds and of the press, the other part of this wheel that in order to replace offset has to do with speed. And if you look at our other digital presses out in the marketplace versus the Landa, you can see where our speed is currently at 6,500 sheets per hour. As Benny said in the video, we've got plans to go to 10,000 sheets per hour in the near future. And really, the sky's the limit. There's nothing about the technology, and I think, Jordan, you know the technology well enough as well, that would limit us from going faster speeds. Would you agree?
I agree.
So, lastly, has to just do with the economics. And if you take the speed of our press along with the format size of a 41-inch sheet, you take the fact that you have no setup cost, or you don't have to create spot colors or special inks. The fact that it's compatibility with your downstream finishing and you being able to use papers right off the shelf, all those things lead to much more economical production of short and medium run lengths. And then the last part of the wheel has to do with sustainability. And I'm going to have Jordan talk a little bit more about that. Basically, all of Landa's products are fully recyclable. And one of the interesting points about it is because our ink is so thin and sits on top, the ability to separate the ink from the paper is much, much easier than any other process because the inks don't go down into the fibers of the recycle process. Landa presses offer a very low carbon footprint per sheet versus other technologies. The inks are water-based, not oil-based, not UV-based. They're water-based, and they're built from environmentally friendly organic sources. The fact that we can print on any media, including recycled paper, without the need for primers or coatings, also helps us on the sustainability mission. And last but not least, we're able to leverage all the advantages of digital printing to reducing excess waste from the printing process and make ready, from overprinting of inventory, from offset plates, etc. You shared with me earlier a story about your recycled board manufacturer. I would appreciate if you could share that with the guests tonight.
Definitely. So as most of you know, if you're dealing with paper products and print, you're probably already splitting up what you're printing. You're putting your SBS or your double-side white print, recycled waste in one bin. You're putting your craft and white in one bin. You're printing your printer's mix in one bin because you're going to get a better return. They're going to convert this waste into paper towels, toilet paper, whatever it may be in the future. Well, because that Landa ink is so thin, we did some case studies with recycling groups in order to maximize our profit. And, in the past, it was we could throw everything in the double side white bin, which is the bin you want to fill. It's the bin that's going to give you the most bang for your buck. And if it had 5–10% of ink on it, you could throw it in there and they didn't really scoff at it. With the Landa recycled products, it could be 20 to 25% printed. They're allowing us to throw it in that bin because when it actually goes to being pulped up and made into a new product, the effect is within tolerance to where our waste is worth more now, to be honest.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing that story. So in summary, Landa delivers game-changing technology because we're able to hit the color, check the color box when it comes to offset. We're able to meet or exceed image quality. We can print on any of the same medias that you can print on an offset. We print on the same format size. We're printing at near offset speeds now and definitely will be in the future. And the economics of running the press are very, very reasonable. So that's kind of gives you our value proposition of Landa and why it makes sense to invest in a nanographic printing press. Benny had touched on the product portfolio of the presses. I know he mentioned the W10, and that is actually a flexible packaging press, as he mentioned, 100 meters per minute, up to 8 colors, including digital white, prints plastic, boards, papers, metallics. It's going to beta in late Q4 2021, early Q1 2022, in that range. So look for that on the marketplace soon. The S10 is the first press that was out of beta. It came out, the very first installation was in 2017. We've got some 18 to 20 presses installed worldwide right now. It runs at 6,500 sheets an hour. It's got an offset coating unit, inline coating unit. Can run everything up to 32-point board, 50-pound offset up to 32-point board. And then the S10P is the commercial printing version of the press. It's perfects sheets, prints both sides of the paper. Again, up to 8 colors, but its stock thickness limitation is up to 24 point because you're perfecting the sheet. If you're looking at the kind of applications run on the S10, you're looking at health and beauty, folding carton, mainly folding carton companies, some POP, some signage companies. The S10 is mostly commercial printing, publishing, again, some POP. And then the W10 covers flexible packaging and paper and publishing and those sort of products. So basically, the nanographic printing process allows you to have printing without compromise. You get everything you'd expect from a conventional press, everything you need from a digital press, and everything you'd want from a Landa press. So in summary here, we all know printing's never going to be the same again. We know that the world is changing, brands are changing, customers are changing. So what makes any of us think that printing has to stay the same? We believe it can change, it can become better and more profitable and more effective for everybody. So I want to thank you for your time today. Jordan, I appreciate you being here, and hopefully we've got some questions coming up that we'll be able to answer. Deborah, if you could come back on and join us, we would certainly appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you guys so much. I am here and we have a ton of questions. So let me start off first by asking about, there was, when you were talking before about the brand color matching, right? Can you be a little more specific about, are you talking about specifically matching Pantone colors or like, is that what you mean by that? That was a little unclear to everybody.
Jordan, you want to take that?
Yeah, so we will match Pantone colors. I mean, we've even been asked to go to Walmart, buy a box of Coca-Cola, bring it to our office and match it. I mean, but most of the time they're giving us a Pantone color. It's the easiest way to match colors for us.
Okay. People have two, Jonathan actually from Solomar has a two-part question. One's for Kevin and one is for Jordan.
Okay.
What is the most, for Kevin, what is the most common file type for the Landa presses printing today? And then for Jordan, what is your most popular application that you're using the press for? So let's start with Jordan.
Our most popular is going to be folding carton. It seems when you go to cosmetics or CBD, like nutraceuticals, pharmaceuticals, this press is almost made to print that packaging. You know, other offset presses, when you hear an order of 50,000 quantity of cartons, you know, they get excited, but when they realize they can fit 25 to a sheet, maybe not so excited. You know, they're like their 100, 200, 300,000 sheet runs, and that turns into a 2,000 sheet run. And for us, it's our bread and butter.
Excellent. I mean, the questions are piling in. So guys, like hunker down for a little,
All
for a
right.
little
We'll be
while,
patient.
okay?
We'll be patient.
Okay. I'm not sure who this is for, so I'm just going to ask it, and then you guys can decide, because you.
Did you want me to answer on the file types?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Please.
That's okay.
Yes.
I didn't want him to think we forgot that. And it's
No, it's me. Go ahead.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
so excited
Landa
with all these
Press
questions.
it has a completely open architecture. So any file size or type that you're using now, from PDFs to JDFs, the way you're doing it now in the process flows straight through to the Landa. So if currently in your process, I don't know if you're a printer or who asked the question, who they are, but if you were a printing company, just like you would send the file to have plates made, you just send that direct file directly to the press, is how it would work.
Cool. Okay. So as I was saying, pretty much everyone knows I'm not the technical person, so I'm just going to ask the question, then you guys can decide who is the right person for that. So the next question is, does the press have to be configured to a specific range of point sizes for paperboard?
No, it does not. It can print anywhere from 50-pound offset all the way up to 32-point board for the Landa S10. So the feeder is a Komori feeder, a standard offset feeder. So you have the ability to adjust that feeder to any type of stock range that you would want.
So for the print customers out there, that's pretty thick, right? To print on pretty thick substrates, correct, Jordan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, very thick.
Like how can we think of it? Like thicker than a cereal box, like, you know, like an Apple box, like tell us.
Well, for instance, we had a paper board credit card job. So you can print about the thickness that you're going to have in your desktop printer up to the thickness of a credit card, or slightly less. So that was a 28-point board, and they're saying they can go to 32.
Cool. Okay. If the light does not penetrate through the ink to the paper, does the color cast of the substrate not affect the color?
That's a tough question. One of the processes, and Jordan, you could answer this as well, but we're able to calibrate our printing press to the whiteness of the sheet so that we can match color from one type of stock to another. Jordan, have you had where you're trying to run the same job or for a customer on different substrates?
Well, I mean, so I guess, you know, we do prototyping and we do focus groups. So, you know, when we're making a product for a customer, we might present it in a few different forms, you know, maybe recycled board, SBS, C&K, depends on, you know, how expensive you want to go, or let's make it cost effective. But so with the inline coating system, you know, when you're talking gloss, matte, satin, soft touch, UV, you're going to get a pretty wide spectrum of changes in that finished color. And with the color that comes off the Landa, if we want to print it uncoated, for instance, profiling purposes, to make sure we can hit a specific Pantone, it gives us more flexibility to, once it's printed in gloss, once it's printed in matte, have a good understanding of where that color is going to come out at and make sure we hit those colors accurately.
Okay. I'm not sure if what you said just answered this question, but since it's about coding, I'm gonna stick it in now. And this is from Helena from an advertising agency that we actually visited with Project Peacock. So
nice.
been in the Project Peacock family for at least 2 years. So thank you so much for coming. So she is asking, remember, she's a print customer representing a lot of brands out there. Tell me more about the inline coating, flood and spot coating. Specifically, what kind of coatings are you talking about?
Okay. For instance, we do a lot of aqueous. It's part of us being sustainable, but at the same time, we do some UV. We'll do inline, aqueous, gloss, soft touch, matte, satin. Those are the ones we currently use. But then we'll also go back and hit it with spot UV. Maybe you want to make your logo pop. Maybe you want to make a product on your box pop. We'll go back and hit it with a spot UV gloss, and then it's pretty. Our customers like it, so we're excited about it.
Excellent. Kevin, I believe this one is for you. And this is from our friend from Brazil out there. He wants to know that if can he deduce that with using nanotechnology, he will have more vivid images by using and use less ink. Is that a fair, that's what he heard and he's wants to confirm it, or?
You definitely will use less ink. As Benny showed in that video, it's about 500 nanometers in thickness, which is about half the ink size of a droplet, or not a droplet, but half the ink size of what you'd have an offset. So it is much less ink. And the fact that those inks sit on top of the substrate and don't absorb into it, they're almost laid on top of it, that produces the much more vibrant images than you'd see.
Okay. And to all the attendees, I'm answering the questions out of order, but I'm trying to keep them in a, as long as we're talking about ink, let's talk about ink. So here's another ink question. What can those 4 + 3 colors be? CMYK and what? And then what is the printing order?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So it's CMYK, which is black, blue, yellow, and red, and then OGB, which is an orange, a green, and a bluish violet. As far as the printing order, I'm not a printer, so I don't know what order they go in. They typically go from darker to lighter colors in the process.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at questions. Okay, let me just, okay, so we've got a lot of questions about the variable data, okay? And the front end. So let's start there with Meredith wants to know, how is variable data handled? Jordan, you want to take that one?
So I'm going to be honest, it's not something we utilize very much. It's not something that we've done in the past. We've done it manually for a few jobs, but overall, it's not something that's really asked of us too often.
In your packaging. Kevin, how is variable data handled?
Basically, if you're doing, for example, a direct mail piece where you are, let's just say you're varying the addresses, or you're doing a mail piece for a veterinarian that you want to put the type of dog that person has along with their address on it. You would actually have a separate file that would have the addresses and the images that would tie together to be pulled into the data stream to be able to print on variable print. I know that's very rudimentary. I'm not very technical on that side, but that's roughly how it.
Welcome to my world, Kevin. Does the digital printing system, or DFE, which is digital front end, okay, with which printer works? Okay, does the printing system with the printer have to have the ability to calculate ink consumption per image or per job? I have no idea what that question means. Sorry,
well, the press calculates it for you, so that's all done automatically through the ripping process to come up with an estimated ink usage.
I will just trust that is the correct answer. Are there any finishing issues with scoring or perforations?
I'll let Jordan take that because he's experienced this firsthand.
No, we have a Hicon beam as well as a folder and gluer. We have guillotine. We even have CAD tables. We utilize all of these finishing devices with just about everything that comes off the press. Whether it's movie posters, we'll go guillotine the sides. It's packaging, go straight into the die cutter. It's going to be your same finishes as offset. We actually even consulted a few offset friends to learn best practices when it came to handling these sheets, and they handle them just as they would offset.
There's a pre-flight question. Is there a pre-flight system built into the press?
I can't answer that question. I wish I could answer the question. I do know that you can edit the files at the press, so that if a file comes over and you need to make some corrections, you can do that right there at the console.
Okay. Is Landa the only source for Nano ink, and are there plans to have the ink available to other press manufacturers?
The nanographic ink that we use is exclusive to Landa. We are the manufacturer of the ink, so it is exclusive from that standpoint. As far as I know, I don't think we are licensed, and it's not, this wouldn't be a decision for me, but I don't believe we're licensing it to any other manufacturers.
Okay. How is the downtime of a Landa sheet fed press in comparison to a traditional offset web press when switching between jobs?
The downtime between.
Well, I can give you an example.
Yeah,
if you'd
go
like.
ahead, Jordan.
That's
So
definitely a Jordan question.
for instance, just about 3 weeks ago, we had 8 jobs on the same substrate. So just to be clear, it's on the same substrate, ranging from 200 to 700 sheets each. We printed all 8 jobs in 1 hour. That's completely flood, full of boxes all the way across the sheet, 8 different jobs, 1 hour. If you are going to be changing out substrates, yeah, you're going to have downtime. You're going to have however long it takes you to change out the substrate. Some people 5 minutes, some people 10 minutes. You know, you're going to get the press running again, and then you're going to start printing. If you're changing out coatings, it's the same thing. It's going to be very similar to offset. But when it comes to switching files or switching jobs, as long as the coating and substrate is the same, you're going to have no downtime.
So I'm going to do a little interpreting for the print customers who might be listening.
Okay, sorry.
Well, I'm just saying, however you look at it, digital printing is a faster technology because you don't have to send out for plates, you don't have to clean the blankets, right? When after the, I mean, I can't, my brain's exploding. I actually know something about a press, but you know, I think that you know, that's an important point of view because
Yes.
the whole point of these, you know, industrial digital presses, which they are, and I say that because they can go faster and they could do a lot of volume, is that I don't like to say it's an offset replacement, but it's another offset option. If you don't need to be stagnant or you want to print with all of the capabilities. I mean, Jordan has said that they match the PMS colors, which is usually the biggest objection. Look, I worked in advertising agencies for 25 years. It's very hard to get a brand to agree on that digital breakdown. But once they do, if you can keep hitting it, you can then utilize all of the really valuable assets of a digital press, which is that if you wanted to, everyone could be different. If you wanted to, or you could have
Correct.
500 different or 3 different. It doesn't matter to you, right, Jordan? You don't care how many are different on the press once it's there, correct?
Correct.
And there's also, in general, more time for creatives and designers and marketers to prepare their files and their campaigns and send it to you and still get it delivered when they need it. So, I mean, again, working in advertising agency, a couple of days is like years, you know, like what? I've got 2 more days to do my job. So there's a lot of advantages to a digital printing technology in general. And then this is like on steroids, right? Okay. I'm sorry, there's still a lot of questions coming in. Is there a roadmap for the presses that may support adding Landa Nano metallography? And that is from Mark Mascara at Keypoint Intelligence, my webinar buddy.
That's a question for our R&D folks. That's certainly something I would like to see, but I think it makes sense to have something like that offline, because it's a process that you could do offline. You could take the printed sheets and refeed them through a metallography press to specifically apply the metal where needed.
Okay, and then a printer out there is asking for a little more clarification on applying varnish in line. I don't know, maybe you want to, I'm not sure what the parameters of that are, but I guess you have to change out the ink cartridges or?
No, it's a digital printing press, but it's also partly offset. We've got an offset feeder, we've got an offset delivery, we've got an offset coating unit that is an Analox coating unit made by Harrison Bruno. So it's no different than an offset press from those three standpoints. So it's if you've got to change out your coating in a standard offset press, you do it the exact same way on a Landa press.
Okay.
It's the printing process that's different.
Did you want to say anything, Jordan?
Oh, he nailed it. Yeah.
He nailed it. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to ask this question, but then I would like you to actually explain what the question is for anyone who might not understand, including me. What is the delta from the first sheet to the middle sheet to the final sheet? Can you explain what that means for everybody?
What the delta has to do with is color variation between a job. And if you're looking at the delta E, if it's anything under, I believe it's 2.2, is that correct, Jordan? The human eye cannot distinguish it. So as long as the delta E is kept between 2.2, you have no visible color difference in the sheet. From 2.2 to 3.5 is pretty much acceptable. Above 3.5 is where you start to get into the questionable mark. I'm going to let Jordan answer about the color consistency from first sheet to last sheet, since he prints on a daily basis, and he can tell you about the color consistency from beginning to end.
Yeah, from beginning to end, once you lock in your profile or once you get it calibrated to your specific needs, your delta E very rarely changes. It does change, but not to a noticeable extent. We'll go ahead and scan in our first sheet, scan in our last sheet to make sure that we're still hitting those PMS colors and the variants that Kevin has mentioned. Some colors you're going to have to accept the delta E of 2, the 2.5. Some colors, I mean, you're talking less than 0.5. I mean, it's incredible. But from first sheet to middle sheet to last sheet, I can't really tell you middle sheet. I've never checked middle sheet. It looks the same to me. But first sheet and last sheet, yes, it's very, very low delta E difference.
How much of a factor is humidity with this press?
When you deal with anything digital, humidity is an issue. We put in a humidity system into our press room, but you also got to think about what you're feeding in. You're feeding in paper. You dry out paper, it gets very brittle. If you soak paper, it becomes very mushy. If we like to keep our Landa press room about 50% humidity, and that just makes it easier for our paper. It flows easier through the machine. The ink lays down easier. The coating goes down, everything dries properly. And then it even allows us to go straight into die cutting without having any tearing or breaking or separation of color.
Okay. Kevin, did you want to add anything to that?
No, he's right on the point. The question mainly on humidity has mostly to do with the paper, as Jordan mentioned, mainly to do with the paper that you're feeding, not the printing process.
Okay. In your opinion, is nanography going to facilitate more variable output?
Well, I mean, all our competition is doing variable output now. Nanography will facilitate more just from a standpoint that we're able to run faster and do longer runs. So where the sweet spot may have been in the past, 500 to 1,000 sheets, with our press coming into the market, it's 0 to 10,000 sheets. So we're able to get a much larger share of the marketplace. So I think if you look at that, yes, probably will. I think it's a good assumption.
Okay, still have more questions coming in. Do you can you deal with food safe inks for direct food contact?
I think I don't have I don't have that form in front of me, but I think we're approved for indirect food contract. Is that correct, Jordan?
Yes, where the Landa inks are approved for indirect food contact. Last I heard, they were talking about figuring out how to get to direct food contact, but I mean, they have all the certifications for indirect, and I know there's a whole bunch more in order to get certified for direct. I just don't think it's there yet.
Okay, do you support inline, do you have an inline spectrometer to measure the color variance on the fly? And if yes, are the ink settings adjusted in real time? They're getting very specific on this.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I mean, we thought we
No.
were just going to hang out, answer a couple of questions.
Well, I mean, right now we do not have an inline spectrophotometer because it's not needed. The color consistency on the press is the same from first sheet to sheet 1000. However, we at Landa have recognized that while we know that it's consistent, our customers like Jordan have to provide to his customers a report showing that the color did not vary from beginning to end. So that is something that's in the process. Not to control the press just because it doesn't need to change, but just to be able to provide a verified report to our customer's customer.
Okay, I think I have, okay, do upgrades for future versions of the presses and the capabilities that we saw in the video require a new press or a software installation or a component? How is that going to work?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And it's one of the unique factors about the Landa press. So you could buy a press that's at 4 colors and add 7 colors to it without doing what we call a forklift upgrade. The maintenance contract with the press covers all software upgrades that would happen to the press. The only things that it wouldn't cover are things like speed enhancements, where you're going from a 6,500 sheet an hour press to a 10,000 sheet an hour press. There would be a charge for that, but everything else is covered under the maintenance contract. So why is that beneficial? 5 years from now, your press is identical to what's coming off the lines in productivity and performance. And it keeps the press in a current state of readiness for the customers.
Cool. Okay, just so you know, we've got questions coming in on the cell phone, on email, on private message and chat. And I'm really excited. This question is actually from Aaron Selsman, and he is a co-host of the Elevate Print podcast that we do at Podcast from the Printerverse. So I'm really excited that he's here, and everybody should listen to that podcast too. And his question is, can the newest press coming out in 2022 print 2 sides in one pass? Also, is that press going to be B1 size roll? If not, what is the roll width for the web press?
Okay, so I'm assuming this question refers to the W10 because he mentioned 2022. And it sounds like it's more for the publishing marketplace. So each box, so that one box that we showed in the video only prints on one side of the sheet. In order to print on 2 sides of the sheet, you would have a turn bar after that, and it would go into another box just like you just saw. So that way you'd be able to print on both sides of the sheet at the same speeds without having any issues and send it out the door.
I actually know what a term bar is. That's like, that's one of the
Yeah,
really
there you
good
go,
things in a
Deborah.
press. Yeah, it always reminds me of like the Olympic swimmers, like they get to the end, they flip around and they, that's, that's what it looks like. It's very cool. Okay, still more questions, gentlemen. So hunker down there. And this is from Jane. She's a pre-press person, so we love her. With CMYK, 50 to 55% of Pantone colors can reasonably be matched. How much does matching capability increase with the extended gamut? And if there is no internal why are you doing this?
Spectrophotometer.
Yeah,
Spectrophotometer.
that thing is an external, say it again,
The spectrophotometer.
required for calibration. Thanks for the assist.
Yes, definitely an external spectrophotometer is used for calibration, and Jordan's got one there as well. CMYK 4-color with offset is in that 55 to 65% of the Pantone colors. The Landa CMYK covers 85% of the Pantone colors. And when we add the OGB, orange, green, and blue, to make it a 7-color press, we're up to 96% of the color gamut of Pantone colors.
Anything to add? No? No, Jordan? Oh, you're getting off easy, Jordan. Someone asked Jordan a
Apparently.
question.
Oh, yeah.
Kevin, I believe this one is for, oh, Jane says, thank you so much. That was amazing. This is from Mark Mascara from Keypoint Intelligence, and he would like to know, can you speak to the overall energy consumption of running the press? And this is in relationship to drying, because some of the other manufacturers' presses consume quite a lot of energy. So Jordan, basically they're asking you, Mark's asking you about your energy bill, if you want to.
Yeah, electricity is always expensive. We all know that. But yes, so to break it down, it's our only printing press. We don't have offset. This is really our first time getting into drying inks, drying coatings, the delivery, these high speeds. It's obviously going to take a lot of electricity. Not having a press, but running a fully digital shop where 70% of our electricity went towards running machinery, about doubled with the printing press. And so, I mean, when I say doubled, we also have to factor in that it can print everything we print on our other presses combined in probably 3 hours. So, and we're also running these machines. We get in about 6 a.m. every day, and there's days that we don't leave until 10, 11 p.m. So especially in Texas in the middle of summer, you're gonna have some high electricity.
Yes, we've noticed, we've read a little bit about that in the news, sir.
Yeah, no kidding.
let's leave that there. Okay, Kevin, does Mr. Landa have any intentions of creating a wide format or grand format press using nanography?
Not that I know of. It would be interesting to see, but right now, I think we're totally focused on making the S10, the S10P fully productive and 100% ready to go. And then the W10 after that. And then who knows what the future holds. The sky's the limit with the technology.
Okay, well, we have a couple of orders for wide format press if when you're ready. Speaking of the W10, what is that roll width and cutoff for the W10 press?
The roll width is 41 inches and there's no cutoff. So it can be a continuous print on that roll because of the way the sheet tensioner works inside the press. But it's 41-inch width.
Okay. Can Landa do spot color?
Well, we can create Pantone colors from our 7 colors. We don't create a specific spot color to use. So in other words, you wouldn't buy Coke Red ink from us and put it into your press. We would create the Coke Red from our 7-color process.
Believe it or not, I think that was all the questions. And
Wow.
nope.
Oh,
Nope,
spoke too soon.
someone got in under the gun here. Okay. How does the machine behave / adjust when changing the print media? Coated, uncoated, plastic. Can plastic go in there?
We've ran polystyrene before. We did have to treat that. It was sometimes it comes pre-treated, sometimes not. And what it was is we were making like pogs out of it. And yeah, I told you, customers have unique requests.
Wait,
Uh,
what did you say?
Pogs. Yep.
What's a pog?
The little
The thing on the
coins,
back of this cell phone? No, what is it?
no. So when I mean, I think they were popular in the 70s and 80s, maybe 90s. I don't know. But they're little circular discs that had like images on both sides. Kids would play with them, and
Okay.
they're being used overseas. And
Okay.
yeah, so we were printing to plastics, and yeah, we did have to prime that, but I forget the other part of the question now. I apologize. What was the rest of it?
How does the machine behave / adjust when changing the print media? Like, do you have to mess around with it, or just goes?
You will have to calibrate it. I mean, if you run any media from the first time, you're going to have to calibrate it to make sure that your print comes off as accurate as you'd like it to. After that, yeah, you're good to go. I mean, it's once you've calibrated your sheet or your specs, I mean, if it's 10-point board, 24-point board, you'll be good to go after you calibrate it. But yeah, that first time you will have to make some calibration.
Okay, well, people.
If all the substrates have already been calibrated, you're simply able to select it from the library on the feeder, and the feeder will automatically adjust to that particular substrate to be run.
Yes.
And just to further emphasize one point that Jordan made about the plastic substrates, because we are a water-based ink, you would have to prime oil-based substrates, because water and oil are not going to mix. So you will need a primer between the oil-based substrate and the water-based inks.
Okay, so Jordan, people love pogs. They're very excited about pogs in the chat. I was like, okay, the biggest reaction so far might be about pogs.
Hey.
Okay, this is a very cute question. So not that people don't want to visit you, Jordan. You seem very nice, but they are wondering where the maybe you want to tell us where some other people who have the presses, and specifically if there are any in Florida, were being asked.
No, there aren't any in Florida yet. The closest one to Florida would be in Georgia, just north of Atlanta. That customer is known for running hundreds of jobs a day on their press. I think their record was 220 jobs in a shift to get off the press. We've got 2 in New York. We've got obviously the one in Texas. We've got one coming to the state of Utah. We've got one in Los Angeles. This is as far as just the US goes. And then one in Monterrey, Mexico, which is still in the US region. And then we've got quite a few more in order that we cannot announce at this point.
No problem. I'm honestly surprised you even mentioned as many as you did. And you know, this is a good time to say that, you know, everyone can go to the Landa booth and, you know, connect with Kevin and the team there. You can click the little requests info sample button in the booth and ask them as many questions as you want, including how to get your hands on some samples, or, you know, maybe, you know, get yourself a little trip to see a press, or however you guys work that sort of thing. I actually do not see any more questions at this point, but I'm still looking. That my cell phone stopped ringing, my email stopped. I think we're okay for now. That was really amazing. I mean, extra, you know, we've been answering questions for at least 40 minutes. So it was very the audience attendees were very engaged. You can, as you know, go back and see the chat. If you want to address anybody in the platform, you can. Everybody who's still on the platform, thank you so much for staying. And I do encourage you to go pop into the Landa booth and all the other booths and look around and come back as often as you want. The platform's free. It's open 24/7. This presentation will be in the on-demand library, I would say early next week, but I will send a notification and everybody who's here will receive that. Jordan, what are your final words as far as why a print customer might want to consider using a Landa press?
I guess the first thing is you're gonna get what you want. And I know that sounds simple.
No,
but
that's everything.
yeah, it sounds very easy. But the reality is you can go to 1,000 different printers and get something printed, the exact same thing. Most cases, every one of them is going to look different, but maybe a handful will look exactly like what you want. But the capabilities of this press, the 7 colors, the coding in line, the flexibility of file types, you're going to get what you want, and you're going to get it very quickly.
Thank you so much. I would encourage everyone to connect with Jordan on LinkedIn. You can actually click on his, actually in the event information right under the video that you're all watching is his LinkedIn, but Jordan Patterson, easy enough. You could find him. He's the vice president at Virtual Packaging. We just learned the other day. Kevin, final words for you. Why should a print service provider out there seek out nanotechnology for the future of their business?
Well, first, Deborah, thank you so much for hosting us tonight. We are very grateful for the opportunity, and it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed doing it. As far as why a print service provider would reach out to us, I think it mainly has to do with versatility. You don't have to print a year's worth of product or a quarter's worth of product at a time. You could print what you need for that month or that week or that day if need be. And what we're finding is I've got a customer up in New York that I won't mention, but he prints a year's worth of product for one of his customers and puts it in inventory. And that customer calls out 1 month at a time. Well, with a Landa press, all he would have to do is just print that 1 month at a time. And he doesn't have all that cash flow tied up, which means if he's having to tie up that cash flow, all that additional cost is being transferred to the buyer. So in general, you have much more versatility. What if specs change? What if nutritional information changes on the box? And all that product is already in inventory. With a digital device or digital printing, you're able to change that immediately in the process and get it right out to market. So that's kind of what I would leave from that standpoint. Lastly, I want to encourage you, if you do want to learn more about nanography, we've got a video on our booth. It's about 15 minutes long. It's extremely entertaining and it's to the point, but you'll get a very clear picture. You'll see it working. You'll see how and why the ink transfers to the substrate and is completely dry when it hits it. And they'll show you that. But click on the video and enjoy watching that if you want to learn more about it.
Yes,
other than that, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Dr. Nano is playing in the Landa booth. It's a little scientific, so but Kevin, you're absolutely right. It explains the entire process. You can see the inside of the machine. They have a demo set up, so their dryer is actually a hair dryer. It's kind of funny for part of it, but for sure you will have a comprehensive understanding of this technology and why it might be either right for you to purchase or right for you to seek out to use for your products and everything else that you print. So I'm going to wrap it up right now. I'm going to hop into the platform, but I want to thank you so much for your time. I want to thank Landa for your Project Peacock partnership. I can't even tell you, it's a thrill. Honestly, I'm a big fan of Landa. I'm a big fan of Mr. Landa. He's a hero of mine. And just the fact that I'm speaking to you, honestly, it freaks me out sometimes that I'm like working with Landa. And Jordan, you've been amazing. You know, I meet a lot of printers. You're a cool guy. If anyone, I would definitely suggest hook up with Jordan, ask him questions. He's very kind. And if you have some work, send it his way. So until next time, everybody, Peacock Long and, oh, I'm sorry, one last thing. Thank you so much to Josh Power, who's the event manager, who's been behind the scenes with us in Zoom, running everything and making sure everything stayed up on the platform. We can't do anything without our event manager. So thank you so much, Josh. Now, without further ado, until next time, everybody, Peacock Long and Prosper.